Mother Cabrini is getting a big boost this Columbus Day. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo standing up with Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio as Italian-American pride fills Fifth Avenue. I'm Emily Druby, and I'll have the latest.
I'm Tim Hartman on the Brooklyn Diocese Parade Float, and Mother Cabrini is the centerpiece today. I'll tell you how it all came together.
Two Italian figures wrapped in a lot of controversy this parade day. We'll have it all. Plus, the battle in Syria is getting worse. Pope Francis is worried about Christian families. We'll have the latest in an exclusive report from the Vatican. And new saints for the Catholic Church, one with a connection to the Brooklyn Diocese. Hundreds of thousands line Fifth Avenue as controversy swirls around both a saint and an explorer. Good evening, I'm Michelle Powers. Governor Andrew Cuomo is the latest politician to back Catholics' push to honor Mother Frances Xavier Cabrini. The saint was overlooked despite getting the most votes for a campaign to honor women who built New York City. All this while the Columbus holiday comes under fire. We have team coverage. Emily Druby is along the parade route and Tim Hartman is on the Diocese of Brooklyn's float. We begin with Emily.
Italian flags filled the air. Music filled the streets as New Yorkers honored Christopher Columbus with the annual parade. Attacks against the Italian explorer are becoming common, some places renaming his holiday Indigenous Peoples Day, and in the city just 2 years ago, critics tried to remove his statue from Manhattan's Columbus Circle. This year, new controversy swirled around another famous Italian-American, Mother Cabrini. The saint, snubbed by City Hall, denied a statue despite overwhelmingly winning a poll to receive one. Many furious with the decision.
I kind of felt offended as an Italian-American.
Despite the controversy surrounding both Christopher Columbus and Mother Cabrini, Italian-Americans are strong and resilient, refusing to let their heroes be held down. Brooklyn's Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio spearheading the efforts to celebrate the saint, and now he's getting backing from Governor Andrew Cuomo.
We're also pleased to announce that we're going to build a statue to Mother Cabrini.
Speaking during the parade, the governor pledging to work with the Brooklyn Diocese to make a Cabrini statue a reality as a sign of the city's immigrant roots.
You know, this city, this state, our asset is our diversity. But to keep the diversity positive, everyone has to feel included. Every group has to feel included. Whether it's the Jewish community or the Irish community or the African American community or the Latino community.
The governor, who has angered Catholics before with his support for a harsh abortion law, also met with Cardinal Timothy Dolan and Bishop DiMarzio, both grateful for the support.
The governor's an Italian-American. He puts his support behind it. We're very happy about that. So it's a good thing. We're encouraged that happens, and we'll work with him to put him in a proper place and have the proper statue.
We've been pushing Mother Cabrini forever. She's our saint, okay? So anybody that wants to come aboard and help us, we're say, come on, we welcome.
Mayor Bill de Blasio, who's under fire over the Mother Cabrini snub, also meeting with Cardinal Dolan and Bishop DiMarzio in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral, where he told the bishop the statue will happen. Bishop DiMarzio saying this new political support is because of the people who spoke up, wrote letters, and refused to stay silent.
I think I'm encouraged today. Again, if we didn't speak up and we didn't try to do this, nothing would happen. So sometimes you have to make a little bit of noise so that people pay attention to you.
From the Columbus Day Parade to the streets of Brooklyn, parishioners of the Brooklyn Diocese and Italian Americans promise to continue to fight for Mother Cabrini. In Midtown Manhattan, Emily Druby, Currents News.
From Emily on the ground to Tim Hartman, who has a bird's eye view. He's on the float that the Diocese of Brooklyn constructed.
Mother Cabrini making her way up Fifth Avenue, the centerpiece of the Brooklyn Diocese Columbus Day Parade float. Surrounding this 5-foot statue, students from Catholic academies across Brooklyn and Queens.
I think it's interesting and I think it's really fun and it's a first-time experience.
I feel happy and excited.
Why?
Because it's my first time being in a parade.
And it's the first time the diocese is making Mother Cabrini part of the parade. John Heyer helped design the 40-foot long float.
Among the different items is the statue that was used for our Italian Apostolate Day of Mother Cabrini, as well as the replica of the Mother Cabrini mural that can be found on Hicks Street in Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn.
Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio getting on board the float outside St. Patrick's Cathedral, saying that on this Columbus Day, there's great support for the patroness of immigrants.
Today we're rooting for Mother Cabrini to have a statue of her in New York at a place of honor because she was one of the courageous women that really built New York City.
One way she helped build the Big Apple, education.
She worked so hard for Catholic education, which is one of the things that we're trying to promote here with the float today.
The float is co-sponsored by the Brooklyn Diocese and Futures in Education, which awards scholarships to children in need so they can benefit from a Catholic education. Catholics walking alongside the float say they're proud to highlight the work of Mother Cabrini.
We always want a true Italian representing our Columbus Day parade, so she represented the true values of an Italian: giving, loving, affectionate.
In Midtown Manhattan, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Over the weekend, Governor Cuomo spoke out for the first time about the Cabrini statue, giving strong support to Bishop DiMarzio after City Hall snubbed the saint.
Now, Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio has said that this is an affront, and the Brooklyn Diocese wants to build a memorial to Mother Cabrini. They are right. We should applaud their courage and their activism. But my friends, we should even do more. We should support them. Let's join with them tonight. Let's stand up. Let's demand respect for our community. Let's lead the way by taking action. And let's build a memorial to Mother Cabrini. And I pledge my full support tonight.
If you'd like to donate to create that Cabrini statue, visit the Catholic Foundation for Brooklyn and Queens at cfbq.org/Cabrini statue, where contributions are now being accepted. Now to news out of Syria. The crisis there is taking an even deadlier turn tonight. Syrian government troops are mobilizing for a clash with the Turkish military. There's a new deal between Syrian strongman Bashar al-Assad and the Kurdish militias that Turkey is targeting for annihilation. The Kurds had been American allies in the fight against ISIS, but U.S. troops are pulling out of the area under attack. The new alliance comes as the Kurds fight for their survival. The Turkish military operation is now in its 6th day. Pope Francis is greatly concerned over the fighting in Syria. His biggest worry is the fate of Christian families in the war zone. There's also another crisis hotspot Francis is speaking about, and it's linked to the Amazon summit. Melissa Butts has all the details from Rome, starting with the invasion.
As Turkey is continuing its military operation against Kurdish fighters in Syria, Pope Francis used Sunday's canonization of 5 saints to appeal to the international community for help. The 9-year war in Syria doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Turkey's offensive against Kurdish militias in northeast Syria is killing, wounding, and has displaced nearly 500,000 in less than a week. From St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis is pleading for solutions.
Tra queste popolazioni vi sono anche molte famiglie cristiane. A tutti gli attori coinvolti e anche alla comunità internazionale, per favore, rinnovo l'appello ad impegnarsi con sincerità, con onestà e trasparenza alla strada del dialogo per cercare soluzioni efficaci.
The Pope's words were applauded before he spoke of yet another crisis in Ecuador.
Seguo con preoccupazione quanto sta accadendo nelle ultime settimane in quel paese. Lo affido alla preghiera comune e all'intercessione dei nuovi santi e mi unisco al dolore per i morti e feriti e ai dispersi.
The Pope's concern even carried into the Synod Hall, as Ecuador is one of the 9 countries comprising the Amazon region. It was spoken about during the press briefing. This morning, our work began with a prayer by the Pope for Ecuador. This, in a sense, proves that the Synodal Fathers and the work of the Synod is not a place where world events do not resonate, particularly for countries who are part of the Synod. I'm in an international setting saying we're the people who are called to seek allies to protect our life. What is happening in Ecuador is an example of our entire Amazon basin. At the briefing, panel members said beginning the second week of the Amazon Synod, one topic discussed is how the Catholic Church can be a voice for the voiceless and especially speak out on international issues. The voiceless spoken about include those who are persecuted, the migrant, and the homeless. They are the victims of the attacks in northeast Syria and also the oppressed indigenous in the region of the Amazon. In Rome, Melissa Butts, Currents News.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is on the campaign trail criticizing President Trump's order to withdraw U.S. troops from northern Syria.
What in God's name is this man doing? What is he doing to our security? What is he doing to NATO? What is he doing? It is a shame. It's shameful what he's done.
Biden also accuses the president of selling out the United States' Kurdish allies. At the same time, Trump is threatening to slap sanctions on Turkey if they target religious minorities. Biden's son Hunter is quitting his job with a Chinese company. President Trump has attacked the younger Biden for highly paid work at an equity fund backed by the Chinese government. Hunter Biden is pledging he won't work for any foreign-owned companies should his father be elected president. And the first White House official to testify as part of the impeachment battle appeared on Capitol Hill today. Fiona Hill is a former National Security Council expert on Russia. She went and talked to reporters when she arrived for closed-door testimony. She resigned from the White House days before President Trump's phone call with the leader of Ukraine. There's sharp criticism tonight on President Trump's border wall. It's coming from the Bishop of El Paso, Texas. Bishop Mark Seitz just released a pastoral letter on racism 2 months after a white supremacist killed 22 people in his city. The bishop wrote that the border wall is a monument to hate, adding, "The wall is a symbol of exclusion, especially when allied to an overt politics of xenophobia. It is an open wound. The wall deepens racially charged perceptions. It extends racist talk of an invasion. It perpetuates that racist myth that the area south of the border is dangerous and foreign." The bishop's letter does not directly name the president. Stay right here for more important stories you'll only see on Currents News. The Pope elevated 5 holy people to sainthood. Ahead, the story why Brooklyn parishes have a special love for one of them. A crowded stage of Democrats are getting ready for their latest debate at a key time. One topic likely to be avoided by the candidates is protecting unborn children. A New York State Democratic leader joins us to explain why. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back.
In nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritus Sancti.
And just like that, the Holy Father canonized a theologian, 3 nuns, and a simple seamstress, saints. Thousands of pilgrims flooded St. Peter's Square this Sunday as the Holy Father elevated 1 man and 4 women to sainthood. Among them, John Henry Newman, who simultaneously became Britain's first saint in half a century. And as Currents News' Tim Harfman reports, people in the Diocese of Brooklyn have been praying for his canonization just as long.
at Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church in Brooklyn Heights, these Catholics have been praying about this day for decades. Cardinal John Henry Newman is a saint.
We've been praying for this for about 30 years, about the whole length of the existence of the Brooklyn Oratory.
Father Anthony Andriassi oversees the Brooklyn Oratory, which is a congregation gathering for prayer and church teachings. The oratory parishes are made up of Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary and nearby St. Boniface Church. The parishes have a great devotion to St. Newman because he introduced the English-speaking world to the oratory religious community. In front of 50,000 people at the Vatican Sunday, Pope Francis elevated Newman and 4 women to sainthood. Newman was a convert, leaving the Anglican Church for Catholicism at the age of 44. During the canonization, the Pope said Newman described the holiness of daily life, calling Christians kind, courteous, and gentle.
Chiediamo di essere così, luci gentili tra l'oscurità del mondo.
I always felt a kind of closeness in that regard, because when I found the oratory, it changed my life.
Brooklyn resident Richard Carlson relates to the 19th century saint because he too is a convert. Growing up Lutheran, Richard says the oratory community played a key role in his conversion nearly 30 years ago.
We use an expression, I felt like I came home, and I think that Newman must have felt that in his language of his day.
Newman is also known for his writings, some of which were on display Sunday during a prayer service at Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary Church.
Newman was so strong on seeing a central role that lay people play in the life of the church.
Lay people like Jorge and Emily Corona are involved in young adult ministry. They're turning to the new saint to grow closer to Christ.
It feels like a prime time for people like us who might not know everything about the former cardinal to read up on him and to know what his work was about and how he fits into the church.
The Brooklyn Oratory plans on hosting group discussions so Catholics can learn more about the newest saint. In Brooklyn Heights, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
On to the 2020 election now. Tomorrow will be the biggest primary debate ever. 12 candidates will take the stage at a crucial moment. Joe Biden is no longer the sole frontrunner. Elizabeth Warren is already coming under fire for being a top contender. And Bernie Sanders is still recovering from a heart attack. There's plenty of issues sure to take center stage, like Trump and the impeachment, healthcare, climate change, and gun control. Now, the candidates at the debate are highly unlikely to express support for the lives of unborn children. Abortion is a settled matter for all the Democrats on stage. They support Roe v. Wade. Wendy Enright is the New York State coordinator for Democrats for Life. She joins us now. Wendy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So my biggest question is, you believe that the National Democratic Party support for abortion is a mistake, both morally and politically. Tell me why that is.
Well, morally, there's multiple reasons, and it might vary according to the person you speak to. There are those of us who believe that life begins at conception, that all people are created equal and we're created in the womb. It's also morally an issue because the Democratic Party, we're the ones that fight for higher wages for lower income people. We fought with unions. We've stood against the death penalty for criminals on death row. And it's this one population that we continue to abandon. So morally, I think it's an issue. I think there's also classism at play when people talk about abortion. They talk about, well, what kind of life is the baby going to have? As if they're not wealthy, it's not a life worth living. Right. So there's so many moral issues that go into play.
Now let's talk about right here in New York State. Democrats for Life have problems with Governor Cuomo's radical abortion law that permits the procedure up to the moment of birth. Right. Where do you see the biggest points are?
I think that is one of the biggest points, is that it allows it right up to the point of birth. Even when you poll Democratic registered voters, over 70% of them are opposed to abortion on demand all the way to the end. Wow. So it's phenomenal to me that somehow the politicians got that through when consistently polls show that even a majority of Democrats don't support that position.
So why do you think they did get it through?
The politicians, for whatever reason, think that this is a litmus test, and that's a huge mistake. If you make a litmus test, you don't change anybody's mind.
Right.
What you do is you alienate people. Nobody has said, oh, okay, it's a litmus test, now you have me convinced.
Right.
They just go to the other party, which is what has happened, and Catholics in particular, I'm Catholic, Catholics in particular, you can see where that has happened. It used to be that if you were Catholic, you were a Democrat. When Roe v. Wade went through, it split us in half, and it has split my own family in half, where half of the people are Republican because of the pro-life position as it pertains to birth, and half of my relatives are Democrats because of the pro-life position as it pertains to after birth.
So that brings me to my next question is, how could Democrats appeal to these voters then?
They have to not pick sides in the primaries where they automatically endorse the pro-choice candidate. It's stunning to me that I've heard a lot of Democratic leadership say that the number one issue they feel is whether or not you're pro-choice or not. Now think about that. We have healthcare issues, we have people going hungry, we have wars going on, we have environmental issues, we have educational issues. All of those issues pale in comparison to whether or not my position is pro-choice or pro-life. Mm-hmm. That's a stunning remark. So they, at a minimum, they have to soften it, open up the big tent, and let Democrats run through the primaries without being opposed by the Democratic Party. My belief is that if somebody can get through the primary, that they would win with a supermajority at the national level. Polls consistently show that a majority of Americans agree with the Democratic Party when it comes to anti-gun legislation, pro-environmental legislation, not reducing SNAP, not taking away people's health insurance. The list goes on and on and on. Immigration, thank you. Where they part is the moral issues led by the Democratic Party waving this pro-choice flag, which just repels people of faith.
All right, so we're just waiting for that candidate. Wendy Enright, New York State Coordinator of Democrats for Life. Thank you for being with us today, Wendy.
Thank you.
Still to come on Current News, a moving story about a Navy veteran who has returned to the Lord. Strangers were on hand to honor the man. And please check out one of the latest features in the tablet, the Our Diocesan Family page. That's where you can send in photos of your family receiving certain sacraments like baptism, First Communion, confirmation, and marriage. For more information and to submit your pictures, go to thetablet.org/OurDiocesanFamily. We'll be right back. Dozens of people in Indiana showed up to honor the life of a Navy veteran who died without any known family. They were strangers to 67-year-old Daniel Powell, but they filled funeral home chairs to make sure he wasn't alone. When his body sat for 30 days without being claimed, the owners of the funeral home decided to provide the vet with a proper goodbye. One veteran who spoke said Mr. Powell's body didn't need to be claimed because it belongs to God.
First of all, his soul was claimed by God. We claim this fellow Savior. He's our family. We're his family.
Someone else stepped in to accept the American flag in the veteran's honor. Powell was laid to rest at Marion National Cemetery. That is Current News. I'm Michelle Powers. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.